So you're going to come into child pose, and if you can get yourself into child pose without props, that's great. If you need some props, maybe a pillow or a cushion underneath your sitting bones on your ankles, or maybe you could place your hands in fists underneath your forehead. And another way to get into child pose more comfortably, of course, is to really widely separate your thighs and let your shoulders relax as you come into this shape. Close your eyes and just take some conscious breaths. Breathing in and breathing out slowly through your nose. Morning, Dominic. So just coming into child pose, settling into your body, settling onto your mat. Taking a little bit of time to connect to your body through your breath. To bring a little bit more breath into the body. To create a little bit more space internally, both mentally and physically. And as you breathe in and as you breathe out, just begin to notice the sensations associated with an in-breath, and notice the feelings and sensations associated with an out-breath. Also, see if you can detect, subtle though they might be, the pause at the end of the inhalation before the exhalation takes place, and the pause at the end of the exhale before the urge to inhale bubbles up within again. Noticing those natural pauses, see if you can imagine yourself just dropping into the gap between each breath and becoming a little quieter, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more focused on what's going on beneath the skin. As you outstretch your arms to frame your ears, fan out your fingers, spread your hands like two starfish resting on the beach. Try to reach with the tips of your fingers towards the front of your mat and reach with the tip of your tail towards the back. And then remain low and prow your hands over to the right side of your mat, letting your torso rest on your right thigh. Try to creep your right fingertips as far back towards the end of your mat as they'll go. And your left fingertips as far forwards and ahead as they'll go. And pursue the progress of your right hand as it creeps back with your gaze. Try to send a little bit more emphasis, a little bit more breath into the left side of your ribs, waist, down to your left hip. Remain low as you bring both arms back to frame your ears and curl them back to the front of your mat. Take a deep breath in as you pause at the midline. And then begin to walk your hands over to the left this time. Creeping your left hand back and your right hand further away, letting your torso rest on your left thigh, and following the progress of your left fingertips with your gaze. This time, as you breathe via the right armpit to the right hip, try to balloon the side ribs and the waist. And as you exhale, feel the muscles that swaddle the ribs and the waist, softening, becoming more elastic. Now walk your hands back to the front of your mat and pause like you did before at the midline. Take a deep breath in and now rise all the way back up here to kneel. If you've got any props on your heels, on your calves, then bring them away from your mat now. As you exhale, come into cat, caving your belly and arching your back as your chin tucks into your collarbones. Seek out your navel with your gaze. Tuck under your toes, soft elbows, slightly winging them wide, and starting with the tailbone, move one bone at a time through the spine into your dog tail, opening your chest and through your gaze. Exhale, toenails press down, tailbone tucks under, your belly starts to concave, and as you arch your back, you seek out your navel again, come into your cat stretch. Inhaling, initiate the movement with the tail. Soften the elbows. Imagine pulling the wrists to greet the knees and the knees to greet the wrists. Exhaling back into your deliberately mindful cat stretch. Inhaling with toes tucked under as you articulate the spine one bone at a time and travel into doggy. Come at your own pace. Try to really exaggerate that lifting of the belly, that doming of the back. Tuck under your toes, and again, try to, one bone at a time, move through the vertebra of your spine until you're lifting your face higher than your eye line. Just keep going, exhaling. And inhale. It's like you're having your own little private meditation, just focusing on the spinal column as you try to get your spine a little bit more mobile and individual in each bone. Now come back, when you're done with that last round, into a position where you're kneeling on all fours and the front of your body is being lifted towards the back. Start to circle your pelvis with navel gathered to kidneys. Start small and then gradually begin to expand on the range of movement, spiraling upwards, so that eventually you possibly are taking your sit bones right back towards your heels, your toes, and shifting the weight bearing forwards beyond the tips of your fingers and thumbs. Once you become adept at the circling, let's have a little bit more movement to the spine. And with your navel, imagine drawing now a figure of 8, encouraging your spine to now move more in the manner of a snake. Again, try to move smoothly through one transition and the next. And feel yourself just beginning to become a little bit more heated, but make sure that you're not compromising the quality of your breath. Working at the pace that suits you best. When you're ready, begin to dial those figures of 8 back in the opposite direction. And you might find that it's not quite as easy going in the second direction as you found the first direction to be. But eventually, with patience, practice, you can begin to feel that same fluid, snake-like movement happening through the spine. And then in the same way that you turn spirals into figures of 8, now begin to turn those figures of 8 into spirals, shifting weight bearing forwards towards the wrists and fingertips, brushing the sit bones as close as you can to your bum, or actually your heels. Now come back eventually to the point where you began. Your navel just hovering over the navel of your mat, nice flat back, the front of your body pulled towards the back. Nice strong arms, but try not to lock the elbows. Take your right foot back and make sure you've got a grip, hopefully on your mat, your toes. You push your toes into the mat and push your right heel back. Try to consciously lift the shin and the inner right thigh to the sky. Press down firmly through strong arms. If you want more, lift your left knee and shin off the floor and stretch out the top of your left foot. So you're looking to stretch out the front of the ankle, the top of your foot and your toes. If you want to go further still, and again, this is a lot about building strength and heat, but make sure it's not done at the compromising your breathing. But if you do want more, lift your left thigh, lift your left knee, and hug them against your left belly and chest. If that gets too intense, just lower your knee back to the floor, but keep breathing slowly. If your arms start trembling, back off and lower your left knee. Now bring your left hand closer to your right so that the wrist is in line with the knee. Pivot on your back foot and set it parallel with the back of your mat. Reach up high with the right hand to the sky and come into a modified side plank. Stacking your shoulders and stacking your hips. Now fan out your fingers like a star illuminating the night sky. Try to stretch out your hand from the center of your palm to the tips of your fingers and thumbs. Now inhale and take your right arm up and overhead to frame the back of your face. Bring the right upper arm as close to the back of your ear as you can. And really balloon again your breath into your side ribs and waist. Keep breathing steadily. Keep pushing away the floor with your left hand. Keep drawing your navel to your kidneys. From that side plank, let your right hand continue its journey forwards and down to the ground. Carefully maneuver on that left knee and place your right foot up between both hands. If you need to, hand out the left knee or slide it back a bit. And once you've created your base, bring your hands onto your thigh to stabilize. Heavily weight the tail and nudge the hips forwards. Lift your breastbone and again lift your gaze higher than your eye line. And that might already be enough for you, just breathing into that stretch, stretching out the hip flexor and the thigh, opening the chest, focusing on each breath as it arrives, focusing on each breath as it leaves. For those of you that want to go further, raise your arms to frame your ears, inhaling. And as you steeple your hands above your crown, see if you can coax your fingertips across the ceiling, coming into your crescent lunge a little bit more. If your shoulders are tight, just keep your arms shoulder width apart. Another option is to bend your elbows and take hold of the elbow points, gently encouraging the arms back and out of your peripheral sight. Opening up the heart cave and breathing deep into the belly for a few more rounds of your breath. Whether you're here, or whether you're with your hands on your elbows, just find your own place to be. Now exhale and release both hands back to shoulder width. Begin to straighten your right leg without locking your right knee. You might need something underneath your hands, or you might find it's enough to be on your fingers, but make sure that you feel stable and you're not going to lose balance. Wedging the heel into the floor, try to draw your toes towards your shin bone. Keep your heart lifted and gaze through heart and eyes forwards and ahead at the front of your mat. Whilst coaxing the toes towards your shin bone and letting your heart travel forwards beyond the toes, imagine someone's pulling you gently by the tail. From that forward bend, keep your left hand on the floor, place it directly under your shoulder. Raise your right hand and reach up once again towards the sky. Suck the thigh bone back into the hip socket and try to draw your right hip back a bit. Getting a little bit of an additional stretch into the right lower back and waist. If it's comfy for your neck, look up towards the root of your thumb. Now cartwheel your right hand forwards and down, grasping the front of your foot if you can reach, and just gently pulling against your foot. Try to draw your toes back closer to your shin bone. Align your spine with the centre line of your mat. Keep looking forwards and ahead. Maintain a little slack in the right knee and continue to breathe slowly and smoothly. As you release your right hand to the floor, slide your right heel back between your hands and come back to heel. Take a moment or two, if you need to separate the knees and reverse back into child pose. You don't have to separate the knees, but if you find it easier to get into child pose that way, then that's the method you should choose. In that gesture of surrender, as you settle into child pose, turn your palms to face the sky. And as you take respite here, see if you can bring a little bit of pressure, possibly to bear on your forehead as you melt your brow towards the floor now. Balloon your breath into your back body. Feel that stretch into your inner groins, your inner thighs. Take inventory. And again, like you did when you were in child pose before, just make sure everything feels as it should. Turning your palms back to the floor, slowly rise, kneeling back to your floors. Take a minute or two to bring the wrists beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips, and then take your left foot back and tuck under your left toes. Push back the heel and continue to breathe steadily as you feel that stretch into your left hamstring, your left calf, your left Achilles. If you went further before, lift your right knee and chin up the floor this time, pressing down the tops of your toes and stretching out the front of your feet, immediately noticing there's a lot more work for your arms and wrists to do. Continue to breathe steadily, we're not compromising your breath, ironing out any speed bumps as they arrive, or backing away if you need to. If you can go further, then draw the thigh and the knee to the right ribs, the right belly, and hold that shape. Again, just notice your body quickly holding the weight. When you're ready, lower the knee back to the mat. I'm going to change sides, and as you do, just bring your left foot to the back of your mat, so the little toe side of your left foot is running parallel with the back of your mat. Stacking hips, stacking shoulders, fanning out fingertips, come into that side plank in the opposite direction to the floor. So make sure you're not doing the same side twice. Reach up and overhead, and again, try to really open up the side body, the side waist. And as you breathe into that shape, try to have your arm like a little bit behind the back of your ear, the back of your face. So you're trying to really stretch out the side body, really lengthen the side ribs and waist. With navel drawn to spine and a really strong supporting right arm, take a few more breaths into that shape. From here, let the left hand continue its journey forwards and down. Again, carefully pivot on that supporting knee before placing your left foot between both hands. Slide the back knee back a bit, pad it out if that's what it needs. Take a moment or two to form your base. When you're ready, take a moment or two just to stabilise with your hand on your left thigh and lean back a little bit more as you coax forwards your hips. You've got a heavily weighted tail, smiling collarbones and smiling lips. And then some of you took the next invitation and raised your arms. And some of you brought together your fingertips and your palms. And then just work on your back bend without forcing your will on it. Lifting and lengthening out of the lower back. Draw your outer armpits back. And continue to smile enigmatically towards the heavens. If you adopted this position with your hands on your elbow points, then make sure that you replicate the same technique on this side. Slow, steady breaths. Quiet, focused state of mind. When you're ready, release your hands back to shoulder width, either placing them on blocks or books or fingertips to make sure that you can stable. Straighten your front leg, stake your heel firmly to the floor and flex the foot as you endeavour to bring the toes closer to your shin. Now don't lock that left knee. Try to avoid collapsing at the neck or the waist. And with your spine, the long line, see if you can just keep your heart lifted as you gaze through it forwards in the head, along with your eyes, look forwards to the top of your mat and beyond. Again, just feel as if you're being pulled back by a thread connected to your tail. Position your right hand beneath your right shoulder, if it's not already there, and then raise your left hand upwards to the sky, taking a twist towards your outstretched left thigh. So you're twisting towards the leg that's in front. And as you twist and steer your navel, heart, and eyes to the sky, again, really spread your fingers, stretch out the center of your palm to the tips of your fingers and thumbs. And finally, to complete this sequence, let your left hand cartwheel forwards and see how you get on, grabbing the front of your foot with your palm. And as you do that, see if you can keep looking forwards ahead of the top of your mat. With the help of your hand, coax a deeper stretch into your left calf, ankle, hamstring. From that quiet move forward then, bring both hands back to shoulder width again. Rebend your left knee and shift forwards. As you walk your hands to shoulder width, slightly forwards now alongside your left toes, lift your back knee off the floor. And then rebound the right foot off the mat and bring it up to join the left foot at the top of your mat with feet about hip width apart in forward bend. Bend your knees as much as you need them to be. Certainly don't lock the knees and let your head be heavy and your belly drawn upwards towards your spine. Hang out like a rag doll with limp arms, soft dangly hands and fingers, steady breaths, quiet, centered state of mind. Spread the weight evenly through the soles of both feet, left and right, front and back, big toenails, little toenails, four corners of both heels, all equally distributing your weight. Imagine through your feet, sending long, grounding roots into the earth's bedrock. Imagine you can tap into the earth's power, strength, and energy and claim it as your own. As you press down through those contact points between your feet and the mat, feel the stretch in your hamstrings intensifying. But don't force your will on it. Be patient. Treat yourself kindly. From your ragdoll, gently bend your knees a little bit more. Keep your belly drawn upwards towards your ribcage and slowly begin to rise, stacking the vertebrae of your spine one bone at a time. Eventually, find yourself arriving fully upright in mountain pose. Let your shoulders be stacked over your hips over your knees, and your knees over your ankles and heels. Imagine 3 threads, one attached to the crown of your head and the other 2 attached to the tips of your ears. Picture yourself drawing up a little bit taller in height as you do that. Meantime, send a little bit of additional yogic energy down the arms towards the tips of your fingers. Imagine that your fingers are sending out, kind of like Spider-Man, sending out webs of fibre down towards the ground. And just imagine yourself being staked to the ground through your fingertips and through your feet. Keeping the arms fully loaded with juice and the spine nice and long, take a deep breath in, and then begin to spin your fingertips around the room that you're in. And again, staple your hands in prayer above your crown. Coming into raised mountain pose. Now slowly exhale and let your left fingertips slide down your right forearm towards the crease of your elbow. Stretching out the left side of your body. Inhale and come back upright again. Exhale, leaning over to the left and raising the forearm with your right fingertips. Inhale, come back to the midline. Just picture yourself like a reed being blown by the breeze. The roots through your feet keeping you firmly rooted into the earth. Sway from side to side and see if you can increase the range of movement as you do this. And it's rather nice just brushing the skin of your forearm with your fingertips, that feeling of sort of stroking your arm as if you're benefiting from the soothing activity of stroking a cat, perhaps. You're not a big fan of cats, that's not very, very soothing, so just stick with the idea that you're brushing your own arm. Once you've had a little play with that, perhaps increased mobility of your spine some more, opened up the side body, come back to stillness, come back to the midline with your hands steepled above your crown again. Exhale and take your arms for a spin behind your back. Interlace your fingers somewhere near the tail. Lift your gaze through heart and eyes, and as you open up your chest, lengthen the back of your neck and draw the shoulders away from your ears. That heavily leaded tail, take a deep breath in and balloon your belly, fill your chest. As you exhale, softly bending your knees as much as you need to, begin to fold back into your forward bend, this time letting your knuckles rise. Not forcing your will on your shoulders though, be mindful that you're not going to force your shoulders into a position that they don't enjoy. Keep the elbows soft and round the arms. Imagine you're trying to pull your fingers apart from their bind. Tuck your chin into the cradle of your collarbones. And imagine you're trying to sneak peek up between your thighs, past your tailbone towards the skies. As you exhale, lower your hands back to your tail. Release your fingers. Start to bend the knees and draw your tailbone to the back of your mat as you raise the arms out of your peripheral sight into chair pose. Keep the knees bent. Take the weight back over the heels as you draw the knees back over the heels. Gather the belly to the spine. Look forwards through navel, heart and eyes. Say good morning to your thighs and continue to breathe deep breaths as you build strength. And yes, again, some more heat. Slowly lower the toes, inhale and skyrocket upwards towards the rafters. Exhale, part the sky, look forwards through your heart and eyes, hinge at the hip crease, fall back into your thighs for your forward bend once more. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fall back into your thighs. Round the feet, spread the toes, heavy tail, inhale, feet a great big rising sun with your fingertips. As you rise, gather your palms to prayer. And like you're pulling a church bell, pull your hands through the centre line of your face, home to the heart. Let's do that the sequence again, inhaling. Exhale, bring your hands behind your back. Only change the way you're threading your fingers as you do that, the opposite forefinger in front. Send your knuckles to the floor, smile your collarbones and lips to the rafters, really open up the chest. Next exhale, cave the belly, slowly fold, hinge at the hips, knuckles potentially, although not essentially, rising to the sky. That soft bend in your elbows and that awareness of your shoulders as you do this. On the exhale, lower the knuckles, release the fingers from the bind, start to bend the knees, belly resting on your thighs, brush the outer ankles, rise into chair pose, take a few breaths, coaxing the toes off the floor, drawing the knees over the heels once more. Imagine you've got a long tree monkey tail reaching towards the wall behind you. You breathe in steadily into those big old muscles of your thighs, into your belly and chest. Round your toes, inhale, skyrocket upwards. Exhale, swan dive, hinge at the hips, part the sky with your fingers, fold back into your forward bend. Add some more, inhale, partway rise. Exhale, step your left foot back into a long lunge. Keep the left knee off the floor, right knee above the right heel, and your left hand either on a book, on a block, or on your fingertips, just underneath your left shoulder. Take a twist towards your inner right thigh. Now consciously push back that left heel strongly. Try to stack your shoulders and keep the back of your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Fan out the fingers again. Don't neglect to take another stretch for your hand. As you exhale, reset your right ankle to the mat. Turn your back foot to about 45 degrees as you ground the heel and square those hips. Lead with the thumb tips as you inhale and rise all the way up into a strong, proud, triumphant warrior one. Then as you come into warrior one with a heavy, heavily weighted tail, look up, both feet plugged into the mat, fully loaded with juice. Take some deep breaths there. Strengthening the legs, opening the heart space. Fire up the arms, but keep the shoulders away from your ears. From here, bring your hands behind you, and optionally, I can't do this with my shoulder and my hand though, bring your hands to reverse prayer. Or take your hands to your elbows with your forearms wrapped behind your kidneys. Straighten your front leg, and importantly, however you've got your hands, your arms, try to draw the shoulders back and lift your breastbone, lift your gaze towards the sky. Keep that feeling of really rooting down through the feet, pressing the right foot forwards, trying to draw the left foot back. Take another deep breath in, bloat the belly from the chest. And as you exhale, keeping those hips perfectly aligned, gathering your belly to your spine, hinge, and find yourself coming into your arming board shape, your tabletop. Take a moment there, just lengthening between your crown and tail. Make sure you're not locking this front knee. And draw the thigh bone of your right leg back into your right hip. Slightly draw your left hip forward small. That might be where you stay. If you want to go further, forming pyramid pose, still looking beyond the toes, and hinging at the hip crease, try to fold a little deeper, without letting your shoulders crowd forwards. Keep smiling your collarbones at your mat. Very slowly from here, release your hands back to the floor to shoulder width. Take a little mini bend into that front knee. Begin to prowl your hands forwards, making a tripod with both hands shoulder width on your right foot. Step onto your right foot and elevate your left leg parallel to the floor. Internally rotate your left thigh so it feels as if you're aiming the toes towards the right heel. Now perform a little curtsy, bend both knees and draw the left knee, the back knee, into the crease of the right as you take a little curtsy. Then inhale and fire up the standing leg and reach back with the left leg parallel to the floor. Exhale again, a little curtsy, bringing the knee of your left leg into the crease of the knee of your right. Inhale, and again straighten the leg and shoot back your left leg, your ground reaching forwards and ahead. Do this slowly, exhaling and inhaling. Exhale and inhale. Finally, lower your left foot as you bend the knee and try to bring the little toe side of your left foot alongside the little toe side of your right foot, so your ankles, your shins are crossed, your ankles, your heels, your feet side by side. Walk your hands, if you can, and line up your fingers as you walk your hands back in line with your toes. Let your head be heavy and hug together your inner groins, your inner thighs, your outer hips. Feel as if you're drawing energy once again up through the legs from the floor. Head to just come heavy and gaze towards the front of that front shin. A little bit trickier. Begin to, as you bend the knees gently, part company with the floor with your hands. And slowly rise, still with your ankles crossed and still hugging together your inner thighs. Come all the way up to stand. Uncross your ankles, swap your shoulders over your hips as you stand back in mountain pose. Take a deep breath in and steepen your hands above your crown. Take a slow breath out and swan dive straight back down, hinging at the hips. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, step your right foot back. I'm going to change sides. Take a twist towards your left inner thigh. And as you stack your shoulders, push back the right heel. Lift the shin and the inner thigh to the sky. Try to barrel your chest. Keep the back of your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Keep pushing back the heel. Breathe deeply, deep breaths into that twist. From here, slowly exhale your left hand back to shoulder width. Step your right foot to about 45 degrees as you ground the heel and bend the front knee down. And then let your fingertips again lead the rest of your fingers into your warrior lunge. There in warrior one, lift your heart, square your hips, heavily weight the tail, let your shoulders relax, facial muscles draw, and just feel every single part of your body strong, switched on, loaded with juice in this place. Smooth, steady breaths, quiet, centered mind, a real sense of purpose as you assume this strong, proud warrior pose. Now opt for the same position of your hands that you practiced before, so it could be that you've gone for a reverse prayer, or just taken, my lead, just taking your hands to your elbows with your forearms running across your back. Begin to slowly straighten your front leg without locking your front knee. Begin to tilt back without throwing your head back, without compromising your lower back. Take a few breaths there. And feel as if your feet are trying to rip that yoga mat into two halves beneath you. Continue to breathe slowly and steadily, opening the front of your body, smiling enigmatically upwards towards the sky. And then in your own time, exhale, cave your belly to your spine, hinge at the hip crease, ensuring as you pause halfway that your hips are aligned. So that might involve a little manoeuvre, drawing the left hip back, slightly rolling the right hip forwards. Again, avoid locking the knee or congesting the chest. As you prepare perhaps to come into pyramid pose and fold a little deeper, try to maintain the integrity of your spine and avoid head butting your shin. In other words, the crown of your head, tip of your tail, in one perfect straight line. From your standing forward bend, when you're ready, release your hands again back to shoulder width. Gently bend the left knee as you shift the weight forwards onto the left foot, and bring your hands to make that little tripod again as you construct your balance. Elevate the back leg and in turn you rotate the left thigh. Again, try to imagine that you're lifting the whole of your back body like your right leg to be parallel to the floor. Now exhale, bend the front knee, bend the back knee, and try to slot the right knee into the crease of the left. Inhale, straighten the leg, and draw forwards the crown and back the tail and toes. Exhaling, little plie. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, hover. Inhale, reach back. One more of those, exhaling. And inhale. Now lower your right foot, taking a bend of your knee one into that front knee. Bringing the little toe sides, if possible, completely side by side, and trying to squeeze together the outer ankles, the outer heels. Try walking now your hands back and lining them up with your feet. Notice how your balance starts to shift, and try to imagine particularly pressing down through the big toe mounds, little toe mounds, and the four corners of both heels. Skip your belly right up into your rib cage, giving you ample space to draw your torso, your front body, closer to that left thigh. Pause there and just recognise what feelings are there. Just let that stretch take shape. Keep squeezing together your legs, hugging into the midline. Keeping that sense of grounding, long roots through the feet to keep you balanced. Slowly begin to lift your fingers and rise. All the way up to standing with crossed ankles, crossed shins, until you arrive with your shoulders over your hips. And then just unhook the legs and come back to the mountain again. With feet hip width apart and parallel, a neutral pelvis and a heavy tail. Send a little charge of energy down your arms again towards the tips of your fingers and palms. And imagine those sky hooks again, connected to the crown of your head and the tops of both ears. Take a moment or two as you pause to perform another balance, coming into a tree pose. Begin to peel your right foot incrementally off the floor, and either pop the foot somewhere on your leg that's not the knee. It could be high, it could be low, but not the knee joint. Or if you feel a little bit more open in the hips this morning, you could try coming into a half lotus and placing the ankle at the top of the thigh where the crease of the hip is. Check in on those hips. Make sure that when you lifted your foot, you didn't throw your hips out of line. And then with a heavy tail and a long upright spine, gather your hands back into prayer. Slowly begin to grow your tree, taking your time. Breathing slowly, smoothly, steadily, effortlessly. And as you draw your torso out of your pelvis and lengthen up between your tail and crown, maybe you're going to spread your wings and open up the heart space. High hands back again. Breathe steady, opening up the chest, opening up the hip. And whether you're in half lotus or whether you've got your foot on your thigh, just try to draw that knee out wide to the side. So you can just build up a little bit more stillness. Spend a little longer in your balance. Focusing your brain, quietening down your nervous systems, building strength and stability again. And then from there, bring your hands back to prayer and hanging. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart. And coming out of it, try not to suddenly fall into a heap, but bring your right foot to your left foot. Both feet on the mat. Bend your knees and just a little bit of circling with your knees and your navel drawn to your hips. Once you have a little circle both ways, and you just feel that the legs are a little bit more juicy again, just come back to stillness. Take a moment to pause in the rebound and just recognise how you feel, and just to clear any clutter from your brain again. In your own time, when you feel inclined, you just want to slowly begin to re-establish yourself in your second tree, replicating wherever you went before. Try to do the same on both sides if possible, and just take a moment or two to establish that neutral pelvis. those long roots, that heavy tail. Keep your navel absolutely stationary. We have good days for balance, we have days when balance seems almost impossible, but we'll just keep practicing. Slowly begin to raise your hands with your palms still in prayer. Keep the neck drawing long out of the shoulder girdle. Draw the outer armpits back and find something in front of you upon which you can very softly gaze. You might also try upping the volume of your breath, which gives your mind something a little bit more tangible to latch onto if you're struggling with balance. And of course, slow down your breathing as a means of quieting your mind. Whatever form your tree has taken, see if you can sustain it for a little longer. And when you're ready, bring your hands back to prayer. Exhale them back down home to heart space. And re-establishation through both feet. Take a moment to blink, close your eyes this time and stand quietly in the stillness of mountain pose. And just passively witness the residue of how you practiced your balances. From here, take your arms for a spin, inhaling. And as you exhale, part the sky and take another expansive swan dive back into your thighs. Inhale, lift halfway. And then bend your knees and ground your hands and either opt to spring back, landing with soft elbows, or to step back into plank. Coming into full-blown plank if you can manage that, otherwise lowering your knees to the mat. Soften your elbows and lift your heart between the shoulder blades, your navel to your kidneys, and imagine being pulled by the crown of your head forwards and the tip of your tail back. Keep hugging together your inner thighs, hugging together your inner calves and your heels, your ankles. Again, make sure there's no speed bumps arriving in the breath, no rough edges between one breath and the next. Again, work with intelligence, humility, and know precisely when it's time for you to back away. Not waiting for my cue, but any time that your body is telling you, slowly lower your knees, soften the elbows, lower yourself down onto your hips and the lower portion of your belly. Bring your elbows beneath your shoulders and assume Sphinx pose. As you take up Sphinx pose, keep the legs together, press down the tops of your feet, soften the shoulders away from your ears, and imagine that your elbows are trying to draw back to your outer hips. Softly gazing forwards and ahead without any rigidity in your facial muscles, your jaw, the muscles surrounding your eyes. Claim one point ahead of you as your own. And as you softly gaze at that point, try to avoid your eyes blinking. Try to avoid your eyes blinking for as long as possible. And as you focus on that pursuit, maybe you want to go a little bit further and lift your forearms, lift your elbows, as long as that doesn't compromise your lower back or involve your shoulders rising up around your ears. Keep focusing on that fixed point, breathing smoothly, your buttocks switched on to a point where they're supporting your lower back, but not overly compressing it. If by coming up from your forearms, that's brought some pinching sensation or pain to your lower back, then come back with your elbows beneath your shoulders and your forearms on the mat. As you meditate on that fixed point, and you focus on avoiding your eyes blinking, find that off switch in your mind. When you're ready, in your own time, slowly release it. Momentarily make a little pile of hands and place your forehead on the top hand to bring pressure to bear upon your brow. After that back bend, just bring your big toes together and let your heels rock softly apart. And maybe it would feel a good idea to just gently rock from hip to hip and release the lower back. there, slowly come back to stillness. Bring your hands behind you and press down the tops of your fingernails either side of your outer hips and thighs. Draw your fingers as if they're trying to reach to your outer ankles, and draw your inner ankles, your calves and thighs side by side. Imagine now as you lift your sternum, lift your chest at the crown of your head as you lengthen your way from the back of your heart. And as you keep your legs glued together, as if you've swaddled your legs, try lifting your legs as high as you can off the ground. Keep pressing down your fingertips, and then if you want more, lift your fingertips off the floor and either interlace your fingers somewhere near your bum, or again, just take hold of the elbow points like you did when you were in the standing back bends before. But keep looking forwards and down the bridge of your nose with that soft, unfocused gaze. When you're ready, slowly lower your feet, lower your chin. Bring your hands either side of your armpits with your elbows tucked in. Tuck your chin into the frame of your collarbones as you rise, and as you exhale, once again, reverse back onto your heels and bring your hands to rest by your feet, your arms by your thighs. Returning to child pose, returning to factory settings. Again, take a moment there to become that little bit more aware of the feelings, the sensations that are currently there for you. When you're ready, come slowly up to kneel with your sit bones resting on your heels. And as you come to kneel, you can choose whether or not to tuck under your toes and get a little sneaky toe stretch or not. Sitting as upright as possible, try to draw the front of your body to the back. Lift your neck long and swan-like out of the shoulder girdle, and blink, close your eyes. Take a moment or two to arrive, and try to ignore the grumbling that's coming from your toes. Internally smile down towards your feet and breathe all the way down to the tips of your toes. Let the backs of your hands now rest on your thighs and the tips of your forefingers lightly press upon the tips of your thumbs, creating this mudra as a way of, once again, further focusing the brain, connecting with nerve energy. Be aware of energy as you inhale, rising up the spine to your crown. And as you exhale, be aware of energy moving down the spine, pouring out through your tail towards the ground. Deep breaths in, energy ascends. Slow breath out, energy descends. And as you watch that ascending and descending energy, picture it as a stream of light, shimmering and bright, travelling up and down the central column of your anatomy. Again, just focusing in with you, cultivating the sense of connectivity between your brain, your body, your breath. Once you find yourself just perhaps coming to a point where you feel that you want to give your toes some respite, particularly if they're tucked under, release your hands from the mudra, press your toenails back down into the ground, and giving yourself a little round of applause, just give your toes a little bash. Finally, just come back onto your heels and take a little counter pose for your feet. Lean back as far as you can. If possible, lift your shins and knees off the floor. Draw up as if being lifted by the crown of your head, tips of your ears again. And maybe just bring your hands to prayer. And again, either blink, close your eyes and focus on the mind screen, or softly gaze towards the wall ahead. Just trying to stretch out the fronts of your ankles, the tops of your feet. Keep hugging together your inner thighs. After having taken that little balance or that quiet stretch, slowly lower your knees if you lifted them. Pop your sit bones to one side or the other of your heels and bring both feet out in front of you. Shuffle yourself to the front of your mat and just take yourself into a little half boat pose. Spread your toes, hands lightly placed under your thighs or outstretched with arms parallel to the floor. Keep lifting your breastbone, lifting the crown, those threads again attached to your ears, keeping your neck lifted and your shoulders relaxed. Inhale, lower your toes to the floor. Exhale, lift your shins either parallel or straighten your legs. Inhale and exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. One more the same, inhaling again and exhale. Either supporting your legs or not, having your knees bent or not, find your version of boat pose and take some breaths there, beaming enigmatically forwards, really working to build a little bit more heat, a little bit more strength, a little bit more fire in your belly. Before you lose the will to live, bring your hands under your thighs, check you've got space upon which to roll, and take a little rock and roll over your spine, massaging your entire back from your shoulders to your hips. And as we take ourselves now down onto the ground and resting on our backs, just wrap your arms around your shins and again revert to factory settings again and come to this version of child's pose. Take a moment or two to feel the weight of the thighs bearing down on the belly and chest. Your shoulders sloping away from your ears. Your back ribs, shoulder blades, pelvis, and the back of your waist rounding. Honour your speed bumps in your breath again. Be aware of your belly as it floats upwards and then falls back towards the ground. Releasing your left foot, place your right ankle on top of your left thigh and bring your shin parallel to the mat. Place your palms either side of your hips and reach with your fingertips to the front corners of your mat. Keeping your right foot flexed and your left foot grounded, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, cave your belly, lift your tail, and still supporting the leg with the left thigh, see if you can lift your shin, your hips, your heart towards the sky. Coax the right knee towards the floor. And then just hold that shape, pushing firmly against the mat with the left foot, trying to travel the toes forwards, and drawing the back of your head away from the back of your heart. Press down firmly through the left foot and fingertips to give your bridge a little bit more height, and keep your buttocks strongly switched on. Once again, don't outstay your welcome. The cue to back away comes from your inner voice, not mine. So when you're ready to come down, exhale and descend the bones of your spine, one at a time. And then just step your right foot back onto the mat and pause. And then taking a few breaths, pausing, in your rebound, place your left ankle on top of your right thigh. And again, just take a deep breath in to prepare. And as you slowly exhale and press your lower back into the floor and begin to lift your tail, rise slowly up as high as you can, back into your three-legged bridge again. Feel that right buttock in particular working strongly. Try to coax the left knee towards the ground. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. Really press down through the tips of your fingers, the right foot. Keep lifting your hips as evenly as possible. And keep breathing as smoothly and as slowly as possible to sustain you here, both mentally and physically, in your bridge pose. And when it's time to come out, you know it's time to back away, slowly again, with all the control that you can muster from that strength deep in your belly. Lower your spine back down onto the ground. Good, now just place both feet back on the mat and heel-toe the feet as wide apart as they'll go until they're on the floor either side of your mat. For someone to pop it on that, so it's going to be rather wide leg for me, so I'll just approximate the width of the yoga mat. Reach your fingers towards the inner ankles. Take a deep breath in and let both knees, simultaneous with the arms travelling overhead to frame the ears, travel off to the right. Heel-toe your left foot over to the left of your mat to line up. Check if you need to, your thigh with the left hip. Place your right outer ankle now on the side of your left knee or thigh that's facing the ceiling, and grab hold with your right hand of your left wrist. Meantime, just breathe now pulling on your left wrist with your right hand, drawing forwards your left kneecap away from your left hip, and breathing by the armpit all the way down the left side of your body. Try to stretch out the stairs, try to really open up the side ribs again and the waist. Below your belly, fill your chest, and then empty everything. Once again, fill to the brim, and then empty yourself of everything. Releasing your wrist, unhooking your ankle, roll back over your feet, and let your fingertips form two parallel arches in the sky to arrive them down on your hips. Heel toe your feet, if necessary, back to wider than the width of your mat. Reach with your fingers in between your ankles and feel that stretch into your upper traps. And then slowly synchronizing the legs with the arms, let your knees drift to the opposite side and your arms reframe your ears. Heel toe your right foot off the mat to line up the thigh with the hip and place the ankle on the side of the thigh. Grab hold of your wrist, not to yank your arm out of the shoulder, but just to encourage a deeper stretch into the right side of your anatomy. And mostly now just to focus on your breath as it flows in and as it ebbs out with effortless ease. Keep coaxing the kneecap away from the hip crease and breathe into those little areas that need more space. Ungripping your wrist, unhooking your knee, and floating the arms back overhead and bringing your feet back in line with your hips. Turn your palms to face the sky and just arch your back a bit, resettling your shoulders slightly closer to your pelvis. Lift your hips, and between your heels, lengthen forwards your tail. Flip your palms to face the floor and just coming into a symmetrical bridge before coming towards our timing relaxation. Neutralizing the spine, coming all the way up into your bridge, ironing up all the way into your shoulders, pressing down into your feet, pressing into your fingertips, lengthening your tail, employing the buttocks, the glutes. Balloon your breath into your belly and your chest. And then as you slowly exhale, once again, iron the spine back down onto the mat, one bone at a time, keeping your belly drawn towards the floor. And eventually just find yourself lengthening your tail out between the heels. Externally rotating the arms and palms face the sky. And pausing. Take a reading and just check in on your level of heat. And if you need extra layering, this would be your opportunity to grab that before settling yourself with both feet stretching out to the two front corners of your mat to find yourself coming into Shavasana. And with your eyes closed, when you get there, try to cultivate stillness, not just physically, but mentally. And once again, just meditate on that movement of energy as it travels like a stream of light as you breathe in, up the length of your spine, from your tail to your crown. And then visualize the energy descending the spine as you exhale, and traveling right down from your crown to your tail. And so in that way, just let yourself rest. Be drawn inwards. To follow that movement of light, that movement of energy as it moves up and down the spine and radiates out to the rest of your entity. Feel the weight of your body growing heavier, sinking into the earth. The front of your body softly rising and falling as you breathe. And that life force energy, that light that's unique to you, imagine that now pooling in your heart and burning brighter and brighter with every breath you take.